whenever the United States does something good, someone has to complain. Today it's Kat Abughazaleh. She is discussing I guess the strikes on Iran. It says, where I stand, self-determination and diplomacy. If you guys aren't familiar with who she is the streamer candidate. She's the future of American politics. She is the radical progressive running for, I think, a Democratic nominee for a seat in the Chicago, Illinois legislature. She is transforming how politics will run. I think that she's going to win her election, and people are going to be turning their heads and be like, oh, wow, how did Kat win her election? Well, she is winning her election by targeting the next generation of voters and doing a really good job of it. I absolutely respect how she's been running her campaign. However, many of her policies and positions, unfortunately, are brain dead. So while I support her political skill and her acumen, I don't support all of her policies. And I think that she is a really good representative of the progressive left today. So I react to her from time to time. Here is her, I guess, best case, I suppose, against America striking Iran, which, to be fair, I do think Donald Trump should have gone to Congress. But other than that, with all the Iranians who have been saying, oh, we want to topple this dictator, and also the rebels saying, oh, we can't do this alone, we need Donald Trump's help, I don't think that it violates self-determination to attack Iran. And it's been clear that diplomacy has not worked in getting rid of nuclear weapons in Iran.
Today, reporting revealed an email sent by someone on my staff detailing my foreign policy. The answers surprised a lot of people, including myself. I want to be really clear. I did not know of that email's existence, and I would not have approved the language in said email.
Wait. What is this? Well, maybe there's some things that she needs to change about her campaign, though. If you got a staffer writing emails on her behalf to her mailing list that oppose her own positions. I didn't even know about an email. Oh, hold on. Wait a second. I think I found something. Whew, so apparently this email was leaked. Okay, this is actually not good. And we know that this is common, though, right? Candidates run on one thing, and then it turns out that they stand for something completely different. Let's see. Do we have a copy of the full email? All I'm seeing is everyone citing the same drop site video. There's a drop site article. Or not even an article, a post. I didn't even know that Kat Abughazaleh was a socialist. I knew she was radical, but I didn't know she was like that. Hold on.
Get your exclusive reporting. So Kat is running for Congress in Illinois, correct?
Right.
Chicago area. Chicago area.
She just had a debate. Kat Abughazaleh, Palestinian American, as running as kind of the most left wing candidate against Daniel Biss, who was the mayor of Evanston, and kind of like an Elizabeth Warren type liberal.
Yeah.
And
progressive for sure, but not exactly like Bernie Wing.
Right. And then Laura Fine, who is getting all of the AIPAC support. So it's kind of like a three-way race between them. The latest poll I saw had Biss up by like 6-7 points with Kat in second, and then both of them beating Laura Fine, which is remarkable because Fine was kind of Fine had the pole position here, but it seems like the AIPAC money is actually dragging her down. It's this Evanston area. It's a very well educated district, and so once it got out that she was secretly backed by AIPAC, it seems like all of that money is as much of a handicap as it is helping her.
Yo, she's backed by. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. These people. These people never cease to amaze me. Let me see if they posted the email here. Not seeing anything about it here. But anyways, we'll just read this and move on because I don't have all day. Leaked email. Kat Abughazaleh, firmly an interventionist foreign policy advisor, says Kat Abughazaleh, a socialist democratic candidate in Illinois' 9th district and one of the only Palestinian Americans seeking office in 2026, was described by our national security advisor as firmly an interventionist who won't stop until Russia is made to pay for its crimes. In written responses detailing her foreign policy vision obtained by Dropsite, Ben Mermel wrote in an email to a Washington-based progressive foreign policy activist that Abughazaleh believes the world is better off when America takes a leading role, and that the U.S. has the obligation to support pro-democracy movements around the world, from Iran to Venezuela. Now, I don't know what this has to do with running Illinois' next district, but okay. He added that Kat wholly supports the National Endowment for Democracy, as well as its affiliated organizations NDI, IRI, and the AFL-CIO's Solidarity Center, and said Congress should expand tools from sanctions to NGO support to advance those efforts without always resorting to kinetic force. The DC-based activist had written to Mermel saying he had noticed unusually hawkish language in the campaign website related to Ukraine and Taiwan and was looking for clarification. In his response, Mermel said that on Taiwan, she would amend the Taiwan Relations Act by dropping our strategic ambiguity and make clear the U.S. would counter Chinese aggression with force, arguing the region now requires a firmer hand. On Ukraine, Mermel wrote that she would hold the line, support funding the Ukrainian war effort to the hilt, back long-range strikes on Russian strategic targets, deploy additional U.S. air, naval, and ground assets to NATO's front line, and that she supports the seizure and redistribution of Russian assets in Europe and the United States for the purpose of financing the war effort. So, I mean, she is a socialist, so like seizing things that people own shouldn't surprise me, to be honest. Abughazaleh did not respond to a request for comment, but a source close to the campaign told Dropsite that the advisor's email did not accurately represent her views, saying Kat is committed to taking on authoritarianism, okay, but is vehemently against the military-industrial complex and the continuation of failed U.S. intervention approaches. Abughazaleh has consistently argued that the U.S. support for Israel's genocide in Gaza, and at a recent forum, said she opposes U.S. strikes on Iran. Mermel in 2024 attended a pro-Israel protest held to counter the encampment at George Washington University. He has been Abughazaleh's national security advisor since July 2025, according to Legastorm. The full exchange is posted below. Watch the report on breaking points. That is also interesting because maybe Abughazaleh has controlled opposition against the far left, or at least against, like anti-West foreign policy, because she must have known, I would imagine, that Mermel had attended a pro-Israel protest in 2024, right? Like, that's not like hidden news, I don't think. I mean, Dropsite News was able to get this information readily enough. Oh, hold on, what is this?
Should know about too. So I'll roll through these. You don't even need the questions, but you can pause this and read them if you want, because the answers are fulsome and they kind of incorporate the question. One, he talks about his role here. So number 4. So this is about China and Taiwan.
You weren't supposed to scroll that far down, Ryan. You were supposed to get tired of reading by that point.
Right. So
It's
asked
funny
about China and Taiwan, because they said, look on the website, it looks like kind of concerning language on the website. Are you sure? Is this really what Kat believes when it comes to Taiwan? And so the quote here, if elected, Kat would strongly push for amending the Taiwan Relations Act to include language dropping our strategic ambiguity towards defending the island from a Chinese invasion. Strategic ambiguity is actually precisely kind of what AOC was mocked for presenting when she was kind of babbling and kind of searching for an answer. Like, that is literally the current American strategy towards Taiwan, is to just babble and not answer, so that China doesn't know like what we will actually do. And so what Kat is saying here through her advisor is that doesn't work anymore, that we need to say that we're going to hit him. So as of now, China knows that Trump won't send the 7th Fleet or any other Indo-PACOM assets to defend Taiwan in the event of an all-out assault. We owe it to Taiwan and democracy to demonstrate that America will do everything possible to counter wars of aggression with force. Extremely hawkish position from Kat there. On Palestine, strong statement. The genocide in Gaza is a disgusting failure. You've heard her talk a lot about the genocide in Gaza, and so nothing here would surprise you. But then he adds, on her behalf, that does not mean that our historical impulse to use military force first is correct. It hardly ever is, and often causes untold damage. There are a wide range of options available to both the executive and Congress, precluding kinetic force, from sanctions to NGO support, all of which are likely to produce results when applied correctly. Kat is firmly an interventionist. The world is better off when America takes a leading role in it, but that role must be ethical and lawful, and it must place human rights first. So that, so we don't want to necessarily do war, but we do want sanctions. We do want to fund NGOs that do these like protests and support our favored folks inside these different countries, and quote, firmly an interventionist. So I don't think that's what people would necessarily have expected from how people understand her when it comes to Palestine. And then on Russia, Ukraine, if elected,
let's get to the good stuff.
If elected, Kat will hold the line. Russia cannot be allowed to eke out a win in Ukraine, and Kat stands firmly against any attempt by the Trump administration to sell out our European allies to Putin's imperialism. Kat fully supports funding the Ukrainian war effort to the hilt until the Russian forces are degraded to the point where a near restoration of pre-war borders is possible, or any other outcome preferable to the Ukraine.
That's interesting. I have not heard any foreign policy aim or goal to that extent, where it's like, we want to essentially take land from Russia. I believe that's what that would entail. So that is actually rather surprising to me.
Iranian government. She strongly supports the forward deployment of air, naval, and ground assets to the NATO front line, as well as the positioning of dual-use missile and drone interception systems. So ground assets, are we talking about American ground assets? Well, hopefully we can get some clarity from her on that. We must additionally surge MIM 104 page, and this sounds like Ben Mermel here is kind of like a bit of a military geek, so he goes deep into the weapon systems that he wants to see placed on the border. The Chinese are closely watching our actions in Ukraine, and the outcome of this conflict will determine the nature of their attempt to seize Taiwan, possibly preventing it altogether. If Ukraine can pull off a diplomatic win, we owe it to those that gave their lives of aggression throughout our history.
What was that?
People seeking freedom everywhere to not cower in fear. Kat will be that voice on the Hill, and she won't stop until Russia is made to pay for its crimes. So I don't know what do you...
So we have that. Now, I would be shocked if I'll look this up. I want to see what Ben Mermel's response was to this. Did he issue a response? Okay, they included the email exchange on X. Okay, that's good. So now y'all have the link, so you can look that up yourselves. I'm not seeing anything stating that he issued a response. But frankly, yeah, see, I think this was accurate. I don't think he was lying. See? Yeah, she's an op. I think that she's controlled opposition, which is crazy. Maybe I'm naive for not expecting this, but this is crazy. It says, I just read this and I'm freaking out. I'm in her district, and this is from Todd Apple. I just read this and I'm freaking out. I'm in her district and I have been a big supporter of her. So it's either a smear campaign or she's an op. My thing is, what does Ben Mermel have to gain from lying about this? Whoa! So someone in a reply had an old clip of her, says, here's her saying it in her own words. And this is a link to a post from Max Blumenthal, an interview with who I presume to be Evanston Now. This is a 1 minute and 25 second clip.
I would like to see full restoration of Ukraine's land. Like, this war is a travesty. Russia initiated a war of aggression, which is an international crime as decided by the United States and Russia after World War II. This is very similar to what we see when Hitler tried to seize Sudetenland. And even with capitulation, it didn't stop him. So that's part of the reason that we have to continue supporting Ukraine, because they are being invaded. They are our ally, and it doesn't stop with Ukraine. It will never stop with Ukraine. Putin wants to take more and more and more land. I support amending the Taiwan Relations Act to drop our strategic ambiguity towards defending the island militarily, not touching the one China policy outlined in the Shanghai Communique. So if Taiwan is invaded, I want to ensure that we've codified passive support to sell Taiwan weapons if Congress wills it, so Trump just can't overrule it, or whoever the president is. That's in Congress's hands, and that we can militarily step in to defend Taiwan with naval fleets for interception and selling weapons. This is kind of like a 1-2 punch. Let's make sure that we have deterrence first. I always prioritize diplomatic solutions before any sort of intervention, but almost making Taiwan a porcupine that is difficult to invade, and then committing to step in to defend Taiwan from invasion.
I mean, so like she basically said everything that he said in that email. I don't know how old this clip is. I wish I knew. But yeah, it's hilarious. Wait, so she has this position, right, that we should come to the defense of nations that are our allies. When she says things like, oh, we need to stop helping Israel, whatever, that clearly is not even a pursuit of, or like, oh, it's bad for us to attack Iran. And that is clearly not in a pursuit of pursuing international law, and supporting international law or due process. It is more about actually she doesn't like that country, or she doesn't like our posture towards that country. She supports Iran, so we shouldn't we shouldn't fight them. That's what I'm presuming from this, right? Because here she's making it clear that she doesn't mind intervention. So whenever she complains about it, I'm imagining it'd have to be because she supports the country that we're intervening against. So now I'm gonna watch this, but based on that, I'm guessing that she probably lied through her teeth, and her the people on her comments section not gonna be very happy.
Today, reporting revealed an email sent by someone on my staff detailing my foreign policy. The answers surprised a lot of people, including myself. I want to be really clear. I did not know of that email's existence, and I would not have approved the language in said email. I was also not aware of certain aspects of this individual's background, and they are no longer on our staff.
That's crazy that you didn't know that. That's crazy. I find that hard to believe.
The reason this email was so surprising is that I have been remarkably clear and open about my positions regarding foreign policy. In fact, if you want to read our foreign policy platform, as well as our page on a free and sovereign Palestine, you can go to catforillinois.com/issues. But let me be clear about where I stand on what was actually in that email. First off, the email describes me as an interventionist, which is not true. I have no idea why he would say that. I have never described myself as an interventionist. I am anti-war, anti-genocide.
Didn't she say that she was an interventionist in that other clip? Maybe I was wrong, but I thought she said she was an interventionist in that other clip.
Anti-imperialism, and anti-intervention, which is why I hold the position.
She's anti-war, but she supports going to war with China over Taiwan. Okay, like for real? Like we're being for real right now.
I've always believed.
And here's the thing. That's not a bad policy to have, for the most part. Like, it kind of makes sense. We have allies, we defend them. Like, that's just basic common sense. When she said that initial clip, I don't think it had any controversy. All of a sudden, now that it's typed up in an email and is ready to get published into an article, it's a problem? No, look, stand 10 toes down in this world. You are going to face people who will be mad about the things that you say. I understand. You are trying to target Gen Z. I understand it's easier to do if you commit to an act of pandering. But at some point, you have to have convictions and a backbone. So just because some people on X or Blue Sky or Reddit or whatever are mad because you believe in supporting our allies and opposing illegal acts of war from nations such as Russia, you back down? That shows to me that not only are you deceptive, right? You're not trustworthy or truthful with what your positions actually are, but you also are spineless and you have no convictions. That's what that tells me, at least.
Said that we should lead with diplomacy and humane foreign policy. I've been endorsed by...
That's in the email. That's in the email too.
Peace Action, the largest grassroots peace network in the world, and I firmly denounce Trump's moves to militarily intervene in Venezuela, Canada, Greenland, Iran, and elsewhere. Before I get into any other specific...
But not Ukraine, though. Not Ukraine. He'd support it if he went to Taiwan.
Specifics, I want to add an initial caveat, and that's that military intervention is an absolute last resort. We need to lead with diplomacy. We shouldn't force regime change. And especially post-Trump, we need humane foreign policy. This means public diplomacy, the reinstitution and expansion of USAID, and reparations to the global south, particularly focused on renewable energy and infrastructure. Now, my leading principle in international affairs is the right to self-determination. When it comes to Ukraine, I believe we should continue arming the Ukrainian people. Wars of aggression are illegal. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is a war of aggression. That is...
So it sounds like she's on board with everything that she said in the article, except for calling herself an interventionist. I'm sorry. It sounds like she's ratifying everything that she said, everything that the campaign manager said in the article he got fired for saying. Literally, is she firing him for just saying interventionist? Okay, let's resume.
It's an international crime. Putin is a despot, and he will not stop with Ukraine. We can support Ukraine by providing arms, ideally paid for through the seizure of Russian oligarch assets, but not with U.S. troops on the ground.
Well, I think this was all said in the email. So is she saying that the email was correct?
Similarly, I believe that politically we should adhere to the one China policy, but we should also eliminate strategic ambiguity when it comes to aiding Taiwan so that way it can defend itself without putting U.S. boots on Taiwanese soil.
This is in the email. I'm sorry. Are you apologizing? Are you standing down or standing 10 toes down? How are you firing someone for writing things in an email that you're saying in your response to that email getting leaked? My guest is flabbered. I don't understand what's going on here. What is this?
The last thing any of us want is a war with China. This is an effort to make sure that doesn't happen. So that way we can make time to work towards diplomatic solutions. We need to reinvest in those diplomatic solutions, not just between China and Taiwan, but the US and China as well. We live in a globalized world. We need to work towards being partners with China in trade and innovation. But that's only possible through diplomatic solutions and international law. I know these are all controversial subjects, but self-determination is necessary in a democratic, globalized world. And that is true whether it's Taiwan, Ukraine, Palestine, or anywhere else. Invasion and aggression cannot be tolerated. The other caveat here is that any military aid for any reason must be conditional. I don't care if it's Ukraine, Taiwan, Israel, or Mexico. If weapons paid for with our tax dollars are suspected of being used to commit crimes against humanity or war crimes, we need a full arms embargo. We have to make sure that war criminals are held accountable and put measures in place to ensure that those crimes are never committed again. I will never blindly vote for military aid. Every single bill will be a separate consideration that I will deeply think about and convey why I voted for or against it. I will not vote to deploy troops for forever wars, and I will continue to respect international law. But once again, any military aid, any military intervention must be an absolute last resort, and our troops cannot be used for an imperial agenda that will make other parts of the world worse. We need to focus on making our country better, and part of that is integrating into a globalized world. The American people are sick of our tax dollars being used for bombs instead of healthcare. We are sick of blind intervention and the military.
We spend more money on healthcare than bombs, by the way.
industrial complex siphoning prosperity from us and the rest of the world for a quick profit. It is a moral imperative that we lead with diplomacy and aid, and that we make right wrongs from the past. A safer and healthier world through shared trade, infrastructure, and cultural exchange also leads to a safer and healthier America. You may agree or disagree.
That's true. Internationalism is goated.
With me on these issues, and that's fine. But this is where I stand, and I wanted to make sure it's clear in my own words.
So she said everything in the email. What is she apologizing for? I'm so confused. And how is no one clocking this? I'm reading these comments, and none of them seem to be pointing this out. People are saying, thanks for the clarification. The clarification is literally everything that was in that email. What are we talking about? This is all very strange. And you know what? You know what's crazy to me is that I think that she is actually an interventionist. There's no way that you hire someone to be your campaign manager or whatever, or someone that senior a role, and you don't know their political background, you don't know their political history. There's no way that you just let that happen. You're running a serious campaign. I refuse to believe that. So I think that she wanted to soften her language while not backpedaling on those positions, so that when she is actually in office, she can be like, hey, I didn't lie to you. You know, this is what our positions actually are. This is what our position actually is. But it is completely unfair. Bro, I feel so sorry for Ben Mermel, who got fired for telling the truth. He was asked questions about Kat Abughazaleh's foreign policy. He said the same thing that she said in old clips, then got fired for saying what she said in previous clips, then responded by saying, I'm sorry, and then doubling down on everything except for the word interventionist. This is just like absurd. Like, this is one of the craziest things I've seen in American politics. I am struggling to make sense of this. And it boggles my mind that there's so many progressive supporters of her who are fooled by this, right? Acting like she changed her position. No, she didn't. Like, okay, I could go on and on about this, but this is absolutely crazy. I think if people just like had more literacy, this would kill our campaign. But like, she's targeting young people who grew up in probably like one of the worst American school systems in recent memory. So maybe that's just working in her favor, and she's just like hoping that all of her supporters are dumb. But I don't know. This is absolutely crazy. It'd be interesting to see if she wins after this fiasco.